Let's bring in our diplomatic editor, James Bays, who's in occupied East Jerusalem. James, you have some breaking news from where you are. What's happening?
Yes, I'm by Damascus Gate in East Jerusalem, but also in occupied East Jerusalem in the Silwan area. We are getting reports of a shooting. We understand that 2 settlers have been shot. No information yet on the scale of their injuries, the severity of their injuries, but that's news in the last half hour or so that 2 settlers have been shot here in East Jerusalem, adding to a really tense situation. I can tell you that in the last few minutes we witnessed a couple of Palestinians who were walking down here, didn't appear to be doing anything to us at all, being snatched by the Israeli police, taken into their police checkpoint. They were then searched, but we saw them being beaten as they were being searched. Then, moments later, our camera operator was filming that, and a settler came up to him and pushed him away, and "You're not allowed to be here," and started pushing at his camera. So just an indication of how tense it is right now in East Jerusalem, in this area, after the events that we've seen in the last 48 hours, after what we saw with regard to the 7 that were killed at the synagogue in the settlement in East Jerusalem, but also what we saw in Jenin, that most deadly attack on Palestinians, 10 people, including an elderly woman killed in that attack. The violence is continuing, I'm afraid. All the calls for restraint don't seem to be having the effect that those who've made the calls in the international community would like. And the latest incident reported Silwan and 2 settlers, we believe, shot. We're obviously chasing more information from the various sources, and we ourselves, as soon as we finish talking to you, are going to go and head a little bit closer to Silwan to find out what we can.
OK, it certainly sounds like things are reaching a boiling point. We are getting some pictures in at the moment. These are the latest pictures of potentially that shooting. So we'll cross back to you with more information once we get it. In the meantime, James, where Netanyahu is convening a security cabinet meeting on Saturday night to discuss a further response.
Yes, and we don't really know what the Israeli government are planning at this stage. What we do know is that the police presence, you can perhaps see there are some police officers just going past me now. That's increased. They're on now their highest state of alert. And we understand that Israeli police officers are all being told now they're working a 12-hour shift. What we don't know is what more the Israeli government are going to do. We know that in the Mount of Olives, at the place where the Israeli police say was responsible for the attack on the synagogue, he was shot dead at the scene in his car. His parents have been questioned by Israeli police, but also other neighbouring Palestinians who'd come to the house. They were arrested, 42 in total arrested there. The Security Cabinet will meet, we think, in Tel Aviv at the Defence Ministry, probably, well, certainly after sundown, at the end of Shabbat, the end of the Sabbath here for Jews. And what they will do, I think, is not entirely clear. One factor in all this is the fact there's a very high-profile visit coming in the coming days, and that's the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who will be here on a pre-planned visit, but clearly the violent situation will be top of his agenda. He's going first to Cairo, then in Jerusalem he's going to meet with Prime Minister Netanyahu and other key members of the new hardline Israeli government, and also meet members of the Palestinian Authority, we're told. So that may in some way be part of the calculations for the Israeli Security Cabinet, because they I don't think, want to launch huge crackdown operations at a time when there is a visit by such a high-ranking official, and the Israeli and the US administration position is similar to that coming from the UN and the entire international community. They want restraint by all sides right now.
Thank you very much, James. Certainly many moving parts, and as we were speaking to you, for your knowledge, we are seeing some, what appears to be amateur vision, maybe phone vision, of that scene in Silwan, and potentially someone being loaded into an ambulance that had been either injured fatally or not. So that information is still coming in, and we'll give it to you as we get it. All right, let's cross to Gaza now, where Imran Khan is standing by for us. Imran, what's been the reaction by Palestinians to that synagogue shooting on Friday night?
Well, before I answer that question, I'm just going to stop talking for a second. You might well be able to hear the mosque loudspeakers actually announcing that incident in Silwan. So that's got some reaction coming there almost immediately as we were on air from the mosque announcing the death of the two settlers via the mosque loudspeakers. It's yet to be confirmed like exactly what they're saying. It's all in the distance. But that's the kind of reaction that we've been seeing here in the Gaza Strip. Hazem Qasim, who's a spokesman for Hamas, actually said that Friday's attack was a response to the crime committed by the occupation in Jenin and a natural response to the occupation's criminal actions. And that's echoed by all of the Palestinian factions across the Gaza Strip. They've all said pretty much the same thing. They all said this was a swift and justified response to the events in Jenin. On TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on social media, a lot of Palestinians have been showing solidarity with the occupied West Bank, with occupied East Jerusalem, saying, good, the Israelis will think twice about killing Palestinians. But with every single attack, with every single incident that happens in the West Bank, there's fear here in Gaza. There's actually a saying here. What starts in the West Bank, in the occupied West Bank, actually finishes in Gaza. And what they mean by that is oftentimes the Gaza Strip becomes a target because of the Palestinian factions here. And when the Israelis cross a red line here and they start bombing not empty targets or targets they think they can get away with, but strategic targets, then Islamic Jihad, for example, or Hamas has to react. That means rockets going as far as Tel Aviv, like we saw in 2021, and a mass escalation. Now, so far, no one has claimed responsibility for this attack. And indeed, the attacker at the street near the synagogue had no Israeli security file on him. He was actually shot dead, but there was no known political affiliations either. But what people here in the Gaza Strip are worried about, that the Israeli government will come up with a political affiliation, perhaps to Islamic Jihad, perhaps to Hamas, and that means that they will react here in the Strip.
All right, keep us posted as to what happens on the ground there. Imran Khan, live for us in Gaza. Thank you. Moving on now to other world news, and protests have been held across